You may notice I've gone back to the earlier database, the donations database, and it's in here that I'd like to show you how to create sub-reports and main reports. In the same way as you can have a one-to-many relationship between tables, you can have a one-to-many relationship between forms. So with the donations database open, I'm going to create a report and design view. So I'll click the Create tab in my ribbon, and in the Report section, I'll choose Report Design. What I'd then like to do is set the source for this report. And so what I'm going to do here is from the Report Design Tools Design tab, I'll click the Property Sheet button. And here I'll actually choose to set the report record source. Now I'm noticing I'm only saying Detail, and that's because I've clicked in the Detail section. If I click where the vertical and the horizontal rulers interact, and that is here, I'll then be able to go to the record source property and set the record source for this report to campaign. I then want to right click the Detail section and turn on the report header and footer, as I notice the page header and footer are already turned on. In the report header, I'd like to add a label, so I'm going to go up to my Report Design Tools Design tab, and in the Controls group I'll click the Label button. I'll then click in the report header and I'll type Campaign Contributors. Now I'd like to format this label, so I'm going to go to the Format section in my ribbon, and here I'm going to change the font to Times New Roman 20, bold and black, and then I'm just going to double click one of the corners to best fit the heading. Oh, and I also want italics. If I wish to get rid of this grey, I'll click on the grey background, and using the Shape Fill button I'll set the fill colour to white. Now I'd like to add some fields to my report, and so for this I'll click in the Detail section, I'll go up to the Report Design Tools Design tab, and I'll click the button Add Existing Fields. The two fields I'd like to add are Campaign Name and Fundraising Target, so I click on Campaign Name, hold the Control key and click on Fundraising Target, and I drag these two into my Detail section. I'd like to highlight all four controls, that is the two labels and the two fields, and using the Format tab in my ribbon, I'd like to make them Times New Roman, bold, black, and 12 points. And I'm also going to double click one of the corners to best fit. I'm going to grab the campaign name and its field, so the label and the field, and put them to the right, or the left, sorry, of my Detail section. Now they're sort of overlapping each other, which I'm not too happy about, so I'll click on campaign name and I'll drag the left edge and I'll drag the right edge until they're sitting nicely. I'll drag fundraising and put it up here, and again I'll just drag them a little bit so they're not overlapping. I might resize this detail section so it's not so tall, and then I might just have a print preview and just see how things are looking. So if I go to the Home tab in my ribbon and I hit the drop down on the View button, I can choose Print Preview. And I'm relatively happy with the layout. In fact, I might just maximize, and I might change the page layout to Landscape. And then I'll close Print Preview and allow me to go back to Design. And I can stretch this out a little bit further. Now that effectively is my main report, so I want to save this. I'm just going to hit the Save button on my Quick Access toolbar and save the main report as RPT Campaign. And OK. And now I'm going to close my main report. What I'd now like to do is create the sub-report. Now the sub-report first of all needs a query designed as a basis for the sub-report. So I'm going to go to the Create section in my ribbon, and I'm going to go to Query Design and design a query. I'd like to add the Contributors table, the Pledges table, and the Campaign table. and close. I might just stretch them out a little bit so I can see clearly what I have in front of me. Now the sorts of fields I need include campaign ID, so I'll double click that field, donor name from the contributors table, address from the contributors table, city, home phone, and email name. And those are the fields that I need. I'm now going to save this query, so I'll just hit the save button on my quick access toolbar, and I'll save it as QRY contributors subform, and I'll click OK. And if I quickly just view what this query looks like, this is the sort of information I'm going to have in my sub report, and I'll close this query. I'd now like to create a report, so I'm going to go to the Create section in my ribbon, and I'll choose Report Design. I then need to click my Property Sheet button so I can set the record source for this report to the query I just created. And the query I just created is the Contributors subform. What I'd now like to do is add some fields, so I click the button Add Existing Fields, and here they are here from the query I designed. I'd like to select all of them except for campaign ID, so I'll click on donor name, hold the shift key, and click on email name to select these 5 fields, and I'll drag them into the detail section. And I'll maximize my report. I might highlight or lasso all of these fields and decide that I'll make them Times New Roman. So I'll go to the Format tab in my ribbon and set them to Times New Roman and black and 12. I'll then move my fields around, and how I'm going to do this the quickest way is, first of all, I'm going to size them all to the exact width and height. So with these fields selected, I'm going to go to my Arrange tab in the ribbon, and I'm going to size them to the widest, size them to the tallest, and then I know they're all equidistant. I'm then going to lasso just the labels, and I'm going to press Ctrl X to cut them, because really I want these to be placed in the report header, which I notice I don't have turned on. So I'll right click the details section and turn on the report header. Then I'll click in the report header section and press Ctrl V to paste. And then I'll just move them around by dragging them so they're side by side. I don't need a page header and a footer, so I'll right click the details section and I'll turn off the page header and footer. I'll also get rid of this grey by clicking on the grey background and going to Format and changing the shape fill to white. I can then resize this section here, resize this section here, and because I'm not using the report footer, I'll resize this right up, which effectively removes it. Now these all need to be aligned to the left, so I'm going to select them all just by dragging down the vertical ruler, going to my Arrange tab in the ribbon, and I'll choose the Align button and align them all to the left. Now I really need to see how this looks in Print Preview to see if I need to make any of these fields wider than they are at the moment. So I'll go to the Home tab in the ribbon, hit the drop down on the View button and Print Preview. When I look at this, I can see that really this information needs to be in landscape, so I'll click the Landscape button, which gives me a bit more room to work with. The city and the home phones fit nicely, but the email name, address and donor names need to be increased in width. So I'll close Print Preview, and starting with the email name, I'll select this pair of controls and I'll increase their width. I'll then select address and increase its width. and I'll select the 2 donor names and increase their width. Now everything's overlapping quite badly, so I'm just going to select all of the controls by dragging down the vertical ruler. I'll go to the Arrange tab in the ribbon, and what I'll do is click the Size and Space button, and I want to increase the horizontal spacing, and that spaced them out nicely. Now I'll check Print Preview and see if it's wide enough. If I go to the Home tab in the ribbon, hit the drop down on the View button and go Print Preview, I can now see that everything is easily visible within their cells. So I can close the Print Preview. That's my sub-report created, so now I need to save it. I'm going to click the Save button on my Quick Access toolbar, and I'll call the sub-report SRBT Contributors and click OK. So that's my main report created and my sub-report created. Now I need to combine the two. I'll just close this sub-report and I'll return to my main report, which is RPT Campaign, and I'll right-click it so that I'm actually in Design View. Now on my Report Design Tools Design tab and in the Controls section, there's actually a button which allows you to put a sub-report in, but I'm not actually seeing it. So I have to hit the More button so that I can see all the options, and here it is here, to insert a subform or a sub-report. So I'll click this button and then I'll click in the Detail section. What this then allows me to do is to choose an existing sub-report or subform, and here it is here that I want to embed into this main form. So I'll choose the sub-report SRPT Contributors and click Next. This has automatically picked up the fact that between the main form and the subform, the one field that they have in common is the campaign ID, and this is written here. Show the subform for each record in campaign using the campaign ID. So I'll choose Next. I can then give this a name if I wish, and I'll just call it Contributors Subreport. And click Finish. And here is my subreport buried in my main report. I may have to juggle things around a bit, so I'll just bring this section down, which then will allow me to grab this and bring this down. And so there is my subreport sitting in the detail section of my main report. And the interesting thing is, if I go to my Design tab in the ribbon and I bring up my property sheet, what is interesting is how the master field and the child fields are populated. It is the field campaign ID that hooks the main campaign to the donor details. Let's have a look at how this looks if we went Print Preview. I'll hit the drop down on the View button in Print Preview. And here I can see that for the campaign Lambert for Mayor, these are the people that have contributed. If I move to page 2, for the campaign Save the Whales, these people have contributed. For the WSPA, these people have contributed. So there's a link between the campaign, the main form and the subform, and that is by the campaign ID. And there are no contributions for the Art Centre. The rest of it is just layout. So I'm going to close out a Print Preview, and the sorts of things I'd say with regards to layout is that there's no need for this page header and page footer. So I'm going to right click and turn off the page header and page footer. And it's really then just a matter of resizing and moving things around until you're happy with the layout. And all the time you can hit the View button in Print Preview and just check that everything's looking okay. And so here are 2 campaigns on page 1 and 2 campaigns on page 2. And I'll close Print Preview, close the report and save Yes. And that's our first main report and sub-report when I need to see each campaign and who's contributed to each campaign.